Coming up on Locked On Bearcats, more on Luke Fickell's contract extension, more on what athletic director John Cunningham had to say regarding the extension. Plus, the Buffalo Bills went to 4 straight Super Bowls. They lost all 4. Would you take the Bearcats making the college football playoff 4 straight years, but losing in the semifinals all 4 years? Plus, one other reason I like the Bearcats going to the Big 12. It's minor, but it's something important to me and maybe to you. All that coming up on Locked On Bearcats.
You are Locked On Bearcats, your daily podcast on the Cincinnati Bearcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We thank you so much for making Locked On Bearcats your first listen of every day. Happy National Chili Day to all of my Cincinnatians out there, you listening to this podcast. Thank you for making Locked On Bearcats your first listen of every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Run Your Pool. More on that here in a few minutes. You're going to like this. If you pay attention to the live reads, which you should, because you might end up buying a Built Bar, you might end up using BetOnline AG, or you might go to Rock Auto. You'll definitely want to do this. I'm Alex Frank, welcoming you to today's episode here of Locked On Bearcats. So Luke Fickell, obviously, new contract extension, annual salary $5 million going through 2028, and this is significant. That, and for many other reasons, athletic director John Cunningham, I read some statements yesterday regarding the extension. Here is more of what John Cunningham had to say following the approval of the extension by the University of Cincinnati Board of Trustees. John Cunningham had to say, in quote, "The new extension was response to Fickell's success as he's progressed here, especially over the last 2 years, the number of tremendous victories we've had and how the program has moved in the direction in terms of academics off the field, what this program is all about." Let me reword that. Moved in the direction, the number of tremendous victories we've had and how the program has moved in the direction in terms of academics off the field, what his program is all about. But certainly the Big 12 played a role in that. We understand what it's going to take and what the price of poker is in the Big 12. That's going to be something we'll have to continue to grow. Think about price of poker, what that means, because that can be interpreted many different ways. We understand what the financial benefit of going to the Big 12, Cunningham further said, we understand what the financial benefit of going to the Big 12 is and will be in the future. So that gives us a little bit of a backstop we've never had before, end quote. Cunningham also talked about the indoor practice facility, 100, talking about how the university is in the process of hiring an architect for a new permanent indoor practice facility and performance center that's expected to cost at least $70 million and be ready for use by the 2025 football season. So Cincinnati will have at least one season under their belts in the Big 12, potentially and most likely 2. It's a $100 million fundraising campaign. The Bearcats recently announced ahead of the program's upcoming move to the Big 12, Justin Williams, penning this article in The Athletic. And this just goes along. John Cunningham understands that this team needs to be ready from day one when they move to the Big 12. John Cunningham, you could make a case, stands the renovations of Nippert Stadium and Fifth Third Arena. You could make a case that John Cunningham, in just over 2 years, has done more, just as much, if not more, than what Mike Bohn did. Mike Bohn hired many tremendous coaches. Luke Fickell, Scott Googins, and Michelle Clark-Hurd. Love all 3 of them. Those 3 have done really well with their programs. Michelle Clark-Hurd's team's struggling this year, but, you see the culture she's established. And once they, reload their roster, you have to remember they're still reloading from that 2019-20 team where they had 4 seniors who were just outstanding. But Michelle Clark-Hurd has established a really, really good culture with that program. Scott Guggen's the same with baseball, and we know Luke Fickell on the football front. So Scott, John Cunningham though has had a role in two, or has been the athletic director for two contract extensions for Luke Fickell. A move to the Big 12 is coming. John Cunningham is a spearheader in that. And he hired a new men's basketball head coach in the midst of a culture destruction almost. The culture was destroyed. The men's basketball program was non existent almost because of all the players who entered the transfer portal. John Cunningham hired a head coach who may not get the Bearcats to where you want them to be this year, but certainly has the potential to get them to where you want them to be next year, and certainly wants to get to the Big 12. Um, Regarding the indoor practice facility and performance center, John Cunningham said, and quote, "We'll put shovels in the ground as quickly as we can. Coach Fickell wants it to happen tomorrow, and I'm pushing for it to happen as soon as possible. One of the things that is in the extension is a commitment to the indoor facility and performance center. That was really important to him. And the other big piece was increasing the salary pool for his assistants. That was something he's talked about since the first day I met him," end quote. Regarding the $100 million fundraising campaign, Cunningham said, in quote, "It's going really well. We're probably a quarter of the way there, and some of that had to do with some fundraising we did before the announcement. In terms of where we're going and new facilities, we've had significant commitments. We're getting in front of everybody, and we expect some really important gifts coming down the pike here soon," end quote. This is what happens when a football program has success, especially football. For years, it had been men's basketball, but the highest revenue driven sport for most campuses across the country, especially those in the Power Five, perhaps the Group of Five, is football. Yes, Kentucky football generates more revenue than Kentucky men's basketball potentially. I don't know the exact numbers, but think about it. You have at least 6 home games a year. And let's say you're at a school like Kentucky, which can have, you know, Kroger Field. What is the capacity of Kroger Field? I'm just giving you an example because here there are so many basketball games, especially on weekdays, but on the weekends where there's football games, you're going to have people go to the game. So Kroger Field, for instance, capacity, 61,000. 61,000 fans show up. They go to the bars before the games, after the games. That helps those businesses. Tailgates, they come in for the games. Hotels. Football's a high revenue driven sport, not just from the games. It's the bars, it's the tailgates, it's the hotels, it's any other business. Basketball, there's so many games. On the weekends, fans might go out after the games, but football is such a high revenue driven sport. And when its program has success, you're going to get more gifts. Donors are going to want to invest. That's how this works. College athletics is a very complex way of workings because there's so many parties involved. There's the donors, there's the fans, there's the athletic director, there's the president, there's the head coach, there's recruiting. There's so many aspects to it. Boosters, you name it. There's so many layers to college athletics. Same too with high school athletics. And as an athletic director and as a head coach, you're dealing with a lot more people than you were if you were an NFL head coach. You're dealing with the media and the fans, but you're not also dealing with boosters and donors. Like, there are fans specifically who are donors and boosters to the university. So they do care. They do care how you perform. And the fact that John Cunningham said that we are going to be getting more gifts coming down the pike this season, that tells you that those invested in the program really like how it's doing. They love Luke Fickell. They love the contract extension. They love the future, the trajectory, the upward trajectory of this program. You have that this is all really good stuff. More details on the contract itself. The buyout has increased. I can find it here. Fickell's buyout, should he choose to leave for another job, is $3.5 million on January 1st, 2023, according to a copy of the extension received via public record request. Then drops by $500,000 each calendar year until it hits $1 million before January 1st, 2028. And on that day or after, it will drop to $0. It includes an additional annual $50,000 bonus for the entire football staff that is to be distributed at the discretion of the athletic director with input from Fickell. This is all according to Justin Williams of The Athletic, and it also includes contractual acknowledgement of the, quote, importance of improved practice facilities to coach, end quote. And there's also bonuses that go into this. Justin does a great job. He did this when John Brandon was hired. I'm trying to remember if he did it when Wes Miller was hired. So Justin Williams gave the great details of the contract in terms of bonuses. $250,000 for a national championship, New Year's Six Bowl, or college football playoff appearance. $75,000 for any other bowl game. $50,000 for a top 25 finish in the final college football playoff top 25 rankings at the end of the season. $50,000 for a conference regular season championship and conference championship. $25,000 for a bowl win, and then $30,000 for 10 wins, $40,000 for 11 wins, and $50,000 for 12 wins in the regular season. How about that? Those are tremendous incentives. And again, this is all good. This is all really good. Luke Fickell is now getting paid like a Power 5 coach. There's investments and support from the university boosters and donors. John Cunningham is on the same page. You can say what you want about what he did in his first 100 days, few months on the job. Since hiring Wes Miller, his track record has been that. UC's going to the Big 12, and Luke Fickell has been given a contract extension. Oh, by the way, the Bearcats have made the college football playoff. Just going to throw all that in there. I got a question for you regarding the model of consistency I've been talking about all week. And I'll get to that next here on Locked On Bearcats. But first, I got to tell you about Run Your Pool. So March Madness is only 2.5 weeks away. Selection Sunday is 2.5 weeks away. That means you need to start thinking now about where you're going to be running your brackets this year. Are you going for the usual, or are you looking for the best? We've done our homework here, and we're running brackets with runyourpool.com. Along with standard brackets, Run Your Pool offers game types like Survivor or Pick X, both really fun in their own way. They have options to edit scoring, and they offer more intel to make your picks. All stuff you won't find at ESPN or CBS. If you've got a business, Run Your Pool can help you take some of that madness magic and play alongside your employees, or even gain customers. Plus, they offer full white glove customer support, custom branding, and one of the easiest 3-minute setups you'll ever find. Clearly, we believe Run Your Pool because, like I said, we're running our brackets there ourselves. There's no truer test than that. If you want to play against us for a shot at the cash prize, join us at runyourpool.com/lockedon. And while you're there, create your own pool for your friends and family. Enter Pure Madness at checkout for $10 off your custom pool. All the rules and details will be available there. That's runyourpool.com/lockedon for your chance to win a cash prize. We look forward to seeing and beating you there. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Bearcats your first listen of every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Alex Frank here with you on this Thursday, February 24th, 2022, National Chili Day. How about that? Run Your Pool. By the way, when I said Pick X, that means like, well, I'm not really sure what it means. Types like Survivor or Pick X. I guess that means just pick any team. I will be starting a pool, a Locked On Bearcats pool. You're welcome to join. You're welcome to play along. I'll be definitely joining the Locked On pool. Looking forward to that. Sucks that Cincinnati, the way it's going, may not be an NCAA tournament team. It's looking that way. They've got 3 games remaining in the regular season. Then the conference tournament remains to be seen what seed they will be. You never know. I mean, it could be one of those years where they're a bid stealer, but it's looking dire. So I got a question for you. I have a question. I was looking at something there. on my phone a message. I got a question for you. So I started reading this book Tuesday night. Not knee deep into it yet, but I'm looking forward to reading it. And it's called Second to None. It's written by Joseph Valerio, and it's about the Buffalo Bills' run to 4 consecutive Super Bowls from the 1990 through 1993 seasons. And as you know, the Bills made 4 straight Super Bowls. They lost all 4. And I used to always be like, they went to 4 straight Super Bowls and they lost 4 straight Super Bowls. Like, how? And I always took the negative side of that. Like, if you go to 4 straight Super Bowls, you should win at least one. And my dad has always told me, yeah, but they went to 4 straight Super Bowls. Think about how hard that is. And as and throughout the Bengals run to the Super Bowl, I'm like, I kept hearing Mo Egger say, you never know when they're going to get back. You never know when they're going to get back. And like, think of teams that have never made the Super Bowl: Cleveland, Detroit, Houston, Jacksonville. I've mentioned the main teams who've never made the Super Bowl. Think about those who've only been once. New Orleans. And they had talented teams after they went in 2009. Never went back. Atlanta's only been twice. Teams have only been twice. Carolina, Atlanta. Sorry, that's a text sound if you can hear that. Atlanta, Carolina. They've only been twice. Tampa Bay's only been twice. And they won 2. Chicago's only been twice. For as rich of a history that Chicago has, they've only been twice. Think about how hard it is to make one Super Bowl. A lot of things have to go right. And we saw that with the Bengals. A lot of things had to go right for the Bills. Hell, they had to rally back from a 32-point deficit in one of their playoff games. They did. They made the Super Bowl. So, I'm thinking about it. The Bills went to 4 straight Super Bowls. They lost all 4. And it had to suck. I mean, it had to have sucked as a player, coach, front office executive, fan, maybe even those who cover the team. They'll tell you they're impartial, but I'm willing to bet if you cover a team that loses 4 straight Super Bowls, I think it has to suck in a way for you. It would for me. It would for me. So, what happens if the Bearcats make the college football playoff the next 3 years? They go on a Buffalo Bills-esque run. They go to 4 straight college football playoffs. But then let's say they lose in the national championship or lose in the semifinals all 4 years. Would you take that? Oklahoma made the playoff in 2017, 18, and 19. And outside of a double overtime loss to Georgia in 2017, the other 2 years they went to the playoff, they basically got boat raced by Alabama and LSU. But they still made the college football playoff 3 straight years. They made the college football playoff 3 straight years with 3 different starting quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and Jalen Hurts. Now, all 3 quarterbacks are so far at least having success in the NFL. But they've made the playoff 3 straight years with 3 different starting quarterbacks. That's hard to do. And it's not like they just replaced some, mediocre, competent, average quarterback. No, they replaced 2 Heisman Trophy winners back-to-back years. And they land Jalen Hurts in the transfer portal. Like that's significant. That's doing something right. It was a testament to Lincoln Riley, their former head coach at the time. So they made 3 straight playoffs. They lost all 3 years. I would have taken that. Here's the thing. Yes, you want your team to win the national championship. You want your team to win the Super Bowl or the World Series or the NBA Finals or the Stanley Cup. How about your first goal? Your first goal in the NFL is to win your division title. Your first goal as a college football program is to win your conference. Then see what happens there. Luke Fickell has constantly said this. Luke Fickell says every season our goal is to play for championships because then you can go from there. And it's so cliche, it's so overlooked. I overlooked it too, but I understand now. The Bearcats have won 2 straight conference championships. They've been to 3 straight conference championship games. And because they've won 2 straight conference championships, it has subsequently allowed them to play in a New Year's Six Bowl and a college football playoff semifinal. When they did not win their conference championship in 2019, they did not get to play for anything but the Birmingham Bowl. I cannot wait. So if the Bearcats were to not win a conference championship, they don't have to go to the Birmingham Bowl. They can go to a bowl game like the Alamo Bowl or the Liberty Bowl or the Cheez-It Bowl. Not in Birmingham, Alabama, where it rained and maybe 2,000 fans showed up. Would you take 4 straight playoff appearances, but 4 straight semifinals losses? I would. The first goal of every season in college football should be to play for to play for a conference championship and win a conference championship. That's the Bearcats' first goal next season. My first goal for them, play for a conference championship. Because then you never know where you can go from there if you win. You heard Zach Taylor of the Bengals, the head coach of the Bengals, say this year constantly, our first goal is to win the division. Because then, as Joe Burrow says, if we win the division, we can win it all. And they came pretty daggone close to doing so. Pretty daggone close to doing so. Because winning your division in the NFL gets you a home playoff game. Winning the division in Major League Baseball gets you past the wild card game. If you're a top 2 division winner, you get a home playoff series. Winning the conference tournament in college basketball gets you to the NCAA tournament. Now in a larger school and a larger conference, I would say the first goal is to win the regular season. Then you're the number 1 seed in the tournament. You get the easiest road to the conference tournament. Championship. That is college basketball. Think about this. Think about how hard it is to get to the college football playoff. Think about how hard it is to get to the Final Four. Think about how hard it is to get to the Super Bowl, let alone get to the playoffs. Butler. Shout out to my old colleague Lance McAllister at 700 WLW. Butler alum. Butler went to 2 straight national championship games in 2010 and 2011 in college basketball. Think about how hard it is to get to back-to-back national championship games. Who's done it since? North Carolina did it. Florida went back-to-back in 06 and 07. But it's hard to get to 2 straight national championship games. It's hard. I mean, think about Butler. They did this when they were in the Horizon League. So the fact that they were in it in 2010 was a miracle. But then to run it back as an 8 seed, to run it back as a lower seed against stiffer competition. Butler in 2000, they were a 5 seed in 2010. In 2011. So it was a nice story in 2010. They nearly won it. But then they went back the next year. I can find the 2011 NCAA tournament. So in 2011, Butler was an 8 seed. And had to play, they played Pitt in the second round, or they called it the third round. I really don't know why. So Butler is an 8 seed. Sorry, I keep trying to find it. They beat Old Dominion by 2 in the first round. They beat Pitt by 1 in the second round, or they did call it the second round still then. Weird. They beat Wisconsin in the Sweet 16. Wisconsin was a 4 seed. They beat the 2-seeded Florida Gators in overtime in the Elite 8. Then, in the Final Four, they get the luckiest draw in NCAA tournament history with VCU, who was an 11 seed. They beat them by 8. Then, they get UConn in the national championship. They lose 53-41 because it was the worst shooting performance in the history of the NCAA tournament. Butler shot 18%. But the fact that they went to 2 straight national championship games as a Horizon League team, and yes, they lost both. But I think without asking Butler fans, without having to talk to Butler fans, if you ask them, I think they would take it. Without knowing, I think they would. I think they said those were 2 incredible years. And Butler has, a basketball history. They play in historic Hinkle Fieldhouse. They play in the state of Indiana, which is, a basketball historic state. So if the Bearcats, like the Bills, make the playoff 4 straight years and they lose in 4 semifinals, would you take that? I know I would. Once you get to the Final Four, once you get to the Super Bowl playoffs, once you get to the college football playoff, what's required to win a national championship sometimes is nothing you do within your team. It's luck. I mean, it's luck. So many things have to go your way. So many things have to be aligned your way to win. Don't ever take for granted when a team gets to somewhere and you hope they make it back or you think they'll make it back, and that you dream bigger once they get there, which is fine, but also understand how hard it is to get to the college football playoff, for example. Like the Bills, if the Bearcats go to the playoff 4 straight years but lose in the semifinals 4 straight years, I would take it. Up next, something maybe minor, and probably is minor, but something I like about the Bearcats going to the Big 12. I'll touch on that next here on Locked On Bearcats. But first, I need to tell you about BetOnline.net. Because football might be over for this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. And from all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. It remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, right to the Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Bearcats your first listen of every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Alex Frank here with you on this National Chili Day, Thursday, February 24th of 2022. So, I don't know. I'm sure you've been paying attention to college basketball, but Iowa they came into Tuesday night before their absolutely dominant win over Michigan State. 18-8, and I believe they were 18-8, and yet they were like 8-7 in conference play, something like that. So very similar to the Bearcats. Yet they're in the top 25. If the Bearcats were in the Big 12, I believe they would be an NCAA tournament team. And that's why I cannot wait for them to get out of the American Athletic Conference. The American Athletic Conference does not offer anything for Cincinnati. It doesn't. It was the result of conference realignment back in 2013, and no Power 5 conference was willing to take Cincinnati at the time, and as a result, they got put in a conference that got slapped together from teams from other mid-major conferences, like Conference USA, mainly. That's what this conference is. But one thing that I'm going to like about the Big 12 is that its conference tournament championship game is on Saturday night, 6 Eastern, 5 Central time. So that means if you're planning to go to the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City, which is not that long of a drive from Cincinnati, it's under 10 hours. If you can handle a 2-lane road on I-70 with absolutely no attractions, go for it. So if you go to the Big 12 tournament, its tournament is Wednesday through Saturday. So imagine the Bearcats play Thursday, because I think teams 7 through 10 play on Wednesday. So if you're a top 6 team in the conference, you get a first round bye, you advance to the quarterfinals that Thursday. So you'd have to take, let's say you fly there, even though there's no direct flight from Cincinnati to Kansas City. I guess the main thing I'm trying to say is you don't have to take off work Monday. And you don't have to, you can fly back home on selection Sunday. You can drive back Sunday before the selection show. You don't have to take off work Monday. That's huge. The Big East, which is not a Power 5 conference either. But the Big East, their conference tournament championship game is Saturday night at 6-2. No conference championship game should be on a Sunday. Right now, there are 7 conference tournaments. So the selection show is Sunday, February 13th. Right now, there are 7 conference tournaments that end on Selection Sunday. The American Athletic Conference, the A10, the Big Ten, the Ivy League this year, or maybe there's 8 conferences then, the SEC, the Southland. Did I mention all 7? I think I got all 7 in. Those are the 7 conferences. Those are the conferences that have their conference tournament finals. I might have missed some. Those are the conference tournaments whose finals are on Selection Sunday. No way should that be the case. All conference tournaments should end Saturday. Can you imagine if the Big Ten did that? They moved their tournament from a Wednesday through Sunday format to a Tuesday through Saturday. And the Big Ten Friday night on CBS. 2 semifinal games. Great primetime TV. And then their tournament final is Saturday afternoon on CBS. Or could be Saturday night on CBS. Perfect. Unless the Mountain West has theirs on CBS, which I believe they do. Perfect. Why are we having conference tournaments on Sunday? The American Athletic Conference tournament already is not one of the most attractive tournaments. It only is when you have a really good team like Houston, maybe SMU and Memphis, and maybe Cincinnati will be a bid Steeler contender this year. But no conference tournament should be ending on Sunday. None. How can the selection committee, if the Big Ten tournament final ends 15 minutes before the selection show, how can the committee make any final adjustments into their bracket in 15 minutes? How can they do that? College football championship games are never on Sunday. A, because of that. B, because they couldn't even compete with the NFL if they tried. And they never would either. College basketball needs to do the same thing. They need to do the same thing. How can the committee deliberately make any final adjustments to their brackets, to their selections, if results are coming in 15 minutes before the selection show is supposed to start? How can that happen? I question that. I can't wait for when Cincinnati moves to a Power 5 conference and has their conference tournament end just under 24 hours before the selection show. It's better than having to end less than an hour before the selection show. The Big East is not a Power 5 conference, but it's got fan bases, it's got programs with history. What does the American Athletic Conference have? Nothing. It's boring. It's boring. And you feel that way mainly because Cincinnati's not winning. They're not dominating. This conference got a television deal in 2019 that sucked. Now their games are being broadcast on ESPN Plus, which is great, but that's a streaming service, and you have to pay for that. Get me into a Big 12 where there's games on ESPN Monday nights, Tuesday nights. There's games on CBS throughout the year. There's, the Big 12 tournament is consistently one of the best tournaments in the country. I gave you the attendance numbers and averages a few weeks ago. It is awesome. Last year, you had 3 top 25 matchups in the quarterfinals. Sign me up for that as opposed to the American Athletic Conference where there's maybe one ranked team every year in it. And thankfully, we only have 2 more rounds of this. But something Wes Miller said just recently. I'll touch on that on tomorrow's show. And don't forget, I'm going to give you my top 10 players from the Bob Huggins era of Cincinnati basketball. Bob Huggins, a finalist for the Basketball Hall of Fame class this year in Springfield, Massachusetts. We'll get to that and much more on tomorrow's show. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Bearcats your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NFL Draft. Ryan Tracy and former NFL cornerback Eric Crocker bring the NFL draft to life every day with insight and analysis on college football prospects and NFL front offices. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to join the Run Your Pool March Madness pool for Locked On Bearcats. Hope to have you in there. And thank you, as always, for making Locked On Bearcats your first listen of every day. I'm Alex Frank. You can follow me on Twitter at Frankie_90 with 2 N's, NNATI. You can follow me on Instagram, AlexFrank9_, and email me at alex3frank@gmail.com. It's all lowercase, alex3frank@gmail.com. Have a great rest of your day, and until I talk to you all tomorrow, I'm Alex Frank for Locked On Bearcats. Now go get some Skyline chili if you're feeling good and hungry on National Chili Day. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.